Why do you coach? Welcome to the Nick Anthony Show. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Nick.
Nick, how you doing today?
I'm great. I am. So last night, I had the fortune to go out to dinner with my daughters. I usually, in a household when there's one son, two daughters, I wind up with Kevin a lot, not with Carly and Amy. So they live in the city. They walk down to one of our games at Drexel. We had dinner before, and I love it. I got time with them, and then you love your kids. I really like my kids. I mean, they're just super cool. Like, Carly and Amy are hilarious, and I can just sit back and enjoy listening to them. So
Mo deserves a ton of credit.
She does. But it was fun. So before we get into the topic today,
okay,
we've had some feedback on our water bottles. So today I have a smaller water bottle, and you don't have a water bottle. So
well, it's over there.
Okay, it's over there.
Water.
Okay, so I'm still thirsty, even with the feedback, which was some of it was they're different sizes, they're the logos, they're
distracting.
Correct.
Yeah.
They should be the same. So we've kind of made an adjustment for now, but I'm still thirsty, and I'm still going to have a small water bottle. So I just wanted to cover that today. So
that was really important.
It was. Okay. So let's get into it. So meet them where they are. This is something for me that is so important. Obviously, we think it is because we're bringing it to the audience. But I'll give you a story that hopefully we can lead us into this discussion. Okay. My role at Drexel in my job is working with teams and working with coaches and trying to help them in any way, right? We've kind of established that. Yeah. So one of the things that I do, or am fortunate to do, I'll give you basketball as an example, is I sit across from the benches. I do it intentionally to look at our bench, our coach,
during the game.
Yes, on the other side of the court.
Okay.
Yeah. And as well as to look at theirs. And some of it is curiosity, is everything. But one of the things that I've wound up, observing, probably just naturally is, okay, what happens when someone comes out of the game? What I've noticed and what I, probably just over time is, there are certain kids, players, when they come off, they react less than positive, okay, less than a fountain. And you can tell whether it's, and some of it's like a buildup, it's like okay, how's the season going? And they're not playing as much as maybe they should have, or they thought they should have. And then they wind up, okay, they're in the game, they're out of the game. What happened? And their reaction is, and I can tell that where, almost, I think I know where they are, right? And for them, that's what they are thinking about. So like, that's where they are in relating to our topic. But the coach is coaching, right? They're what's the next play? When am I calling timeout? What's the score? Everything.
Right.
And don't necessarily see where they are. And it's so important because we'll fast forward to after the game, the next day, that player is still thinking about, wow, I only got 4 minutes.
Right.
And I've been playing 24 and now I'm down 4 and I made a mistake and that's why I came out of the game. And so they're solely focused on their situation, right? It's just that's what it is. That's what they're thinking about. A coach is thinking about the other 13 players. They're thinking about, okay, we have this team coming up. And so but that is so important because that's where they are. And as a coach, you got to know where they are because your job is to coach them, is to make them the best they can be and collectively make the team the best.
Right.
So if you aren't paying attention to their E, in a sense, maybe not E is not the exact proper word.
I think that it is.
Then I think you're in trouble and you're making a mistake. Now, how does the head coach do that? Well, I give them a little bit of feedback on something, and it's not always just coming out of the game. It could be in the hallway when I see them, or it could be anything. But also the assistant coaches. What are those conversations? But what I think I want to dive into a little bit today is where they are, and it isn't. So go back to go to PKE. All right, we'll dial it. Kind of rewind it a little bit. A youth coach, any type of coach,
right?
They are doing this, hopefully doing this, or should be doing this with P and K, no doubt, right? Are you, as a coach, are you asking them to do something they can't do physically, right? That probably happens more at a lower level, right? So you're not, running alley-oop plays for 9-year-olds, right? I mean, so you're naturally meeting them where they are. You're not asking them, to run a certain defense, like, a matchup zone in 4th grade, right? They just aren't going to have the knowledge to do that. And so there is a PK involvement in meeting where they are, and it can go all the way up. It's like, can Jalen Hurts run this type of offense, right? So there is a meet them where they are there. I mean, I think a little bit more of the focus I'm thinking about is more the E. Like, can you coach with empathy and awareness, right? So it's like, can I observe and be present for those things?
Right.
And where does it relate? You start to lose players. They start to lose confidence. That's why it's important. It's just like, you don't want to lose people. So some of it's just, you don't necessarily change it. Like, that kid may have only deserved to play 4 minutes, right? But that's what they're thinking about. So it's the follow-up. It's the next meeting. It's going into the locker room saying, look, you got to stay with me. You got to, it just wasn't your matchup today. You're important, whatever. Arm around the kid, all that stuff. Otherwise you start to lose, and they're going to be in their own mind thinking about, why isn't coach playing me? Why isn't, meanwhile, just cut it off, right? It's the same thing in business, right? I mean, as a boss, aren't you trying to get the most out of your employees? So aren't you trying to figure out where they are to right? I mean, is that fair?
Good ones, yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of.
Well, that's what, and we want them to be good, right?
Yes. But absolutely, Nick. And as you're talking about this, right? Great. We talked about the 6 elements of a coach, and one is in-game coaching. Right, and that's a whole skill set. That's a big deal. There's a lot going on, but the coach needs to be self-aware enough to know, like, when I'm coaching a game, I can't think about anything else. So, especially if they have assistants, I don't know, it seems like a obvious thing to me, but maybe I'm wrong or naive about how it works.
No, I mean,
level, but it seems like you could have assistants and say, it's your job. Like Denise Dillon talked about, during games, the person next to her was the person who scouted the other team.
Yes.
Right. So she gives assignments to her assistants during games. So it seems like, I don't know whether Denise does this or not, because we haven't talked about this. It seems like she could say, one of her assistants, like, it's your job to monitor the emotional level of everybody.
Yes.
Here.
Yep.
Right.
And I don't know if, I mean, we'd have to ask Denise, like, to dive in deeper.
Yeah, I don't know if she does that or not.
Yeah, and I would say it's not as common that you'd think where people would do that. again, because they're dialed in, right? I mean, and their comfort zone is the moment and the game. And frankly, oftentimes it should be. I think you can tell. I mean, I'm thinking of myself on the lacrosse sidelines, and then looking over and seeing a coach going over to someone coming out off the field in the box, and going to them and be like, and talking to them. So it does happen.
Right.
I think some of it is more like, if we're talking to coaches and having them think about it, is somebody doing that? Are you doing that? And if you didn't see it, are you the next day? Or are you consciously thinking, I only played that person 4 minutes? So what are they thinking?
Right.
And, am I, and it isn't just like, well, they'll work harder at practice, or they're, no, they
tell them why, especially if you're talking to somebody
100%
college level.
Correct.
Right? You've got to say, if high school players, whatever, you've got to tell them, like, this is what you need to do to get playing time.
Yep.
Because a lot of kids, high school kids, they should be asking, but they're not asking the question. Like, the parents are just complaining about playing time. My kid doesn't play to that. But does the kid ever go to the coach and say, Coach, what do I need to do to earn more playing time?
Yep.
How can I contribute more to the team to get more playing time? Kids aren't strong enough to do that.
100%.
Right? So you have to, I think, as a high school coach, be aware of that. And I think that's how you cut it off. Right? I looked at the stat sheets. The guy only played 4 minutes, didn't realize it during the game, but I realized it after the game. I need to go check in with that kid.
Yep.
And tell him these are things he needs to do to get more playing time.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, I think there's so much proactive stuff, to your point, that needs to happen so that you build the trust. Right. You build that you do know them, and you meet them where they are before something is an issue. Right. The one thing I loved, I'll give you an example, a little vulnerability here. I'll give you a bad example of me being, I don't know what the right word is, a drain, anything you can say. But in college, I remember this specific moment. There was frustration on my end, and I think some of my second string compadres with the bench with me, that the coach only worried about the starters. Right. And I loved Ace Adams. He was the best human being. That was my coach in college.
Okay.
But I even looking back, I think I was probably right. Now, my reaction to that feeling is not right. So I specifically, God, I was an idiot. I specifically, in practice, we were clearing the ball, basically out of our end into the offensive end. So it started with me. I had the ball, and I purposely hurled the ball over a kid's head into the stands, okay, to see what the reaction would be, okay? No reaction when I had the second string uniform on. I think it was blue at the time. But then I went in with the first team, which was very rare, let's be honest, and I did the same, and I got corrected on it. Okay. So, the good news with it, of me being an idiot and trying to prove this, was that we had a team meeting, and we did hash out a little bit. Now, it wasn't with the coaching staff, but it was a little bit.
You admitted to the coaches that you heard?
No, I'm saying the coaches weren't in the meeting. Okay. We did a kind of a players only meeting about, it wasn't just about what I did. I mean, it was the consensus, feeling of some others. So, but in that sense, I think the coaches should have been more aware of where we are, right?
And that's why we're tight, right? So you're right. That's what the episode's all about, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
with those coaches.
Yeah, and the proactive part of this is going, and I don't want to keep regurgitating Denise Dillon, but when she huddles up, it's the circle before practice. So they go to midcourt, around the jump ball circle, and they just have kind of go around the circle. There's always a topic. There's something. There's some kind of reveal or and that, I don't know if she would consciously know that she's doing this, but she's just getting a feel, and it's not to call people out. It's not, but she gets a pulse of her whole team, right? And I think that's, again, what's a tool that you can use is having these type of organic things that happen in your sport or in your practice or in just the way you go about things, where you get a pulse. Where are they?
Right.
I told the story about our women's lacrosse, early on, and then the young coaches, and they brought in their team, their seniors, and kind of, how we doing? So yeah, it was to be vulnerable, to learn, but it was also, okay, where are they in relation to what we're doing? So I those type of things that you can do as a coach really do matter, because why is it important? Well, culture goes, you're only as good as as the bottom third of your team, because if they are cancer, because no one's really giving them value, no one's giving them purpose in the role, but because they're never playing, what is their purpose to be on this team? So that's where they are. So anyway,
well, and I'll say some of the best coaches I've seen, they go out of their way to take care of everybody and make sure everybody's part of the team, even if they're not a starter, even if they don't get a ton of playing time. Because, and I'm going to use water polo because I'm thinking of one particular coach. I'm thinking of my son's high school coach, actually. And he does a great job of making every kid feel part of the team.
Yeah.
And he gets the best out of practice out of them by doing that. Mm-hmm. And what that means is the kids that may or may not even get playing time in the game that week or the game coming up, they still want to put their best effort in, because they want to challenge the guys that are starting, that are going to get the playing time. And they know that to be a good team, they've got to go all out in practice to make everybody better. And I think a lot of coaches forget that. I mean, I'm always if you don't mind, I'm so impressed when I hear a backup quarterback in the NFL talking about the preparation they do for every game as if they're going to start. Mm-hmm. It's their job. And you hear it every once in a while, really good backups, right? It's my job to be ready to play. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what, I need to be ready to play. And, I actually went to a Eagles game over the weekend and, just watched how everybody warmed up, and the people that weren't going to play even. And they warm up as if they're going to play.
Yep.
They're professionals, right? That's their job.
Yes, correct.
And I think a lot of times coaches, even at the college level, forget these are young people.
Yep.
Male or female. Yes. I almost said men, but it's not men. It's young men, young women, and they're not professionals yet, and they don't understand everything yet. And if they haven't gotten in the habit of going to the coach and saying, what do I need to do to contribute, get more playing time? They still have, to your point, they still have all those emotions.
Oh,
so it's the coach's job, right, to go figure that out, to go make sure that they understand, right, where they stand emotionally, meet them where they are, to use the phrase that you use all the time, right? I mean, Nick, you use that. I don't know if you realize how much you use that phrase, but you don't just use it when you're talking about sports. You use it when we're talking about family things or whatever. It's just like, no, take the time, pause, have your E be strong enough to understand where that person is so you can really relate to that person.
We'll be right back to the Nick Anthony Show.
Today's show is brought to you by the book, Creating and Evaluating Opportunities. Evaluating potential investment, considering an employment opportunity, finally starting that company you have been thinking about. This book is for you. Available on Amazon. Creating and Evaluating Opportunities.
Welcome back to the Nick Anthony Show.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier with business, but it's the same, right? I mean, if you're leading a department, an organization, I mean, if you aren't trying to figure out where they are, I mean, aren't you missing the boat?
Well, yes, but again, I'd say, I mean, there's tons of stuff out there on how become a better manager.
Yeah.
And it's out there for a reason.
Yep.
And that's why when we go back to episode 1, we talk about PKE, it's really the way to think about it, right? You have to stop and say, where is this person emotionally? Where am I emotionally, right? To get through this, do I need to make their E stronger or better, or get them in a better place, or is this a knowledge issue? Right?
Yes.
Or is it a PE issue where, like, oh my gosh, they've got a sick kid at home and they're up all night and, and they're just like physically can't do the job right then, right? And do you want to keep them as an employee because they're not? Yes, right? But I think that's why PKE is so valuable in some ways. But the E is obviously, right, way different for a kid on playing time at high school or even college, right, versus once they're pro.
Yep.
Right? Once they're pro, they better be professional or they're about it and be prepared or they're gone. So in some ways, they have to be responsible for their own, how do I get better?
Yeah.
Right? And that's why you see these guys hire some, they do all kinds of stuff off season.
Yes.
Better. But college players are like pretty much captive audience to understanding Division I. Is you're pretty much captive audience to whatever your program wants you to do.
Yeah. And so I think another important point, I think playing off that is we aren't saying that it's all, again, arm around and you never keep them accountable, right? Because you have to balance the empathy with the accountability, right? It's in the situation of the kid who's frustrated about their playing time, it isn't just like, all right, are you okay? There's also this is tough for you right now. I know you have, you're in finals and I know you're struggling with your ankle and it's not at full strength. But I still need you to, like, when you're in the game, I need you to play harder, or I need you to go after the ball and get some rebounds. There is an accountability that it isn't just like you can acknowledge, right? I mean, as a tool or a strategy is like, you're going to acknowledge what they're going through, but it doesn't dismiss that you're allowed to do this, right?
Right.
Like, just because you're going through something doesn't relieve you of the accountability of it. And in this case, in that sense of the playing time, the accountability is you're not going to get on the floor, because you may be going through things and I'm here for you, right? I'm going to put my arm around you and I'm going to acknowledge things are tough, but it doesn't mean just because I'm acknowledging it that you're going to, you're not accountable. I'm just going to put you in the game, right?
But right, it's like, it's not just, it is, if you're the coach, and let's go back to college or high school level or even youth stuff, right? If you're the coach and there's an E issue with playing time, right? And you have a good reason, you have to tell them.
Yes.
Like, I know this one game where the coach didn't play a player, told the different, and never told the player why, basically, right? And there was very mixed messages around why they didn't start when they were a normal starter. It was just really an odd thing. But if that person would have said, you didn't do da-da-da in practice, right? Then okay, then that player knows they have to do that in practice. If they didn't know how to do something right in the game at that time, then you need to work on this knowledge. I need you to get more playing time. You need to know, a K thing, to do this in these situations.
Yes.
You didn't do that. I had to pull you because they're, right? So you grow their K or you grow their P and say, look, you're, I don't know, I'm making something up now, but your vertical leap, you need to go work on that. You're not strong enough to play against it. Whatever it is, P-wise, right? You need to tell them, right? You can't, basketball, your left hand's not strong enough in that game or against that team. I needed somebody with a stronger left hand, right? So that's a P thing, right? So, so, and then that's like, so to me, it's not just like accountability or like you've got something going on in your life. It's like, you got to work on their E by giving them more K or giving them a P thing to go work, more knowledge, or giving them the physical things they need to go work on.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have a plan, right?
Yeah.
I got to go work on this stuff. And if they don't do it, then guess what? Then the consequences are, the results are, the accountability is they don't get more playing time.
No, I agree. I think that's a perfect way to say it, because the thing you're empathetic with is their E. What they're going through. They're frustrated. They're disappointed. They're mad. Whatever they are. But by giving them the listen, you don't know the plays.
Right.
I can't play you.
Yes.
I can't play you. And,
Right.
and fans often don't understand this. Like, why isn't so-and-so playing? Why, because we can only run 2 plays when they're in the game, and,
Right.
like fans don't know that. They just see some spectacular play and they're like, that player is amazing.
Right.
And they don't realize that, like, did you notice we had to play man-to-man because they can't play zone? They don't understand the zone. Did you notice? So whatever, I'm like off topic slightly.
Stop it. No, that's right.
But the K, by giving him the K,
Right.
to your point, it is going to improve their E. So you're meeting their E, but then the accountability is like, you got to learn the plays, and and I'll work with you, and that's again part of meeting where they are. Like, come in, we'll do film, and we'll do all these things. That's coaching. Right. It's like, because you're raising their K, and then
right. If you're raising all those things, so the way I always take it, the way you say it, right? You meet them where they are. You've got to figure out really what the IDP, to use Chris Bates's thing, right? What's the individual development plan for that player? But if you're talking to them about being here and they're here, you're not meeting them where they are.
Correct.
Right. And so you can talk to them all day long about knowledge or whatever else, but if you're not speaking their language, right, if you don't understand what makes that person tick, it's hard to get the best out of them. Hard for them to be the best they can be.
No doubt. I mean, one recent example, I think that again, I'm going back to something I said I wasn't going to repeat, but Steve Kerr with Draymond Green, right? So Draymond Green's been with him for 12 years, I think I read. And incident
after incident.
Well, there was an incident, during the season, and Draymond, they got into it heavily. And Draymond left the bench, just walked out.
In a game?
Yeah, in the game. Now, in the game.
Walked out of a game.
Yeah. He got taken out.
From arguing with his coach. Okay.
Now, he did come back. And then, Steve Kerr in the press conference really owned he took responsibility for it. Whether that's true, that it was sincere. I mean, I think Steve Kerr, as I've said before, is very authentic and has such high E. But he met, by going out and apologizing to Draymond and, acknowledging, his error in that, he's meeting Draymond where he is. I mean, and obviously Draymond's an emotional player. Steve's an emotional coach. I mean, I don't think he necessarily sees it all the time, although he did go crazy a couple of days later. He got ejected from a game, but he acknowledged it, and he met him where he was. And I think pro coaches do the same thing. I mean, in some ways, maybe they do it more because they're truly managing, right? I mean, they're coaching some strategy and some, scheming things up, but they have to manage pro athletes, and so they often have to, meet them where they are. And I feel like the best, this is true probably at every level, but the best of the best pros, just they are so good at this. They can meet them where they are. They have high E. Andy Reid, I don't think gets enough credit, but his ability to meet players, he's a player's coach. And I think defining player's coach basically means you meet players where they are.
Right. I still say he holds players accountable.
100%.
He'll give people a chance.
Yep.
But he holds them accountable. So I have never taken what you said as meet them where they are as just empathy and being nice or putting your arm around them. I've never taken it that way, the way you say it. I've always taken it as you got to know where they are in order to communicate with them. But sometimes that communication is very direct.
Yeah.
And it's, you've got to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this to deal with these situations, but you've got to speak their language. You have to speak their emotional tone. You have to find the right words. You have to do all that kind of stuff. We've said it before, right? Great teachers don't just say the same thing the same way over and over again. And coaches are teachers, good ones, right? If that doesn't work, you got to find a different way to say it. You got to find a different way to demonstrate, right?
Yeah.
I'll go back to, I can't remember what episode.
Teachers do. Yeah, right. Teachers do that all the time.
But, right, you did that too when you were a ninth grade basketball coach, right? You talked about that before. You couldn't find the words, so you used film to communicate.
Yep.
And that's still meeting those kids where they are. Now, you were dealing with yourself and those kids to do that, but that's what you still didn't say you don't have to show up at practice, you don't have to run.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You still did all that stuff, but you still met them where they were.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, here's a symbolically, right? I mean, I think meeting them where they are is thinking about them, right? It is empathy. What's
true.
Where are you thinking they are? No,
I said it the wrong way.
No, not necessarily. I think but I think very symbolically, coaches implement this within their own team. I'll give you the basketball example. When someone hits the floor and falls down, right? What do? They run over and pick them up. So what are they doing? They are meeting them where they are. They're on the floor, and it's like, oh, I have to think of someone outside myself. They just did that, and I'm going to go help them up, right? So the players are meeting them where they are in a lot of ways, right? But I use that as like kind of like, all right, what's the symbolism?
That's great.
It is an unselfish act, because sometimes it drives me nuts. I mean, I just had this conversation with my son. Philosophically, just get up. Right? I'm going to wait until everyone pulls me up, right? So it drives me crazy. But then when I think about it deeper, it is a symbolic gesture that, hey, that person fell. Like, I'm thinking about somebody other than myself. I'm going to pull them up.
Right. Team.
When I phrase it that way to myself, I'm not upset anymore. But I do like that kind of that image, because it is meeting them where they are. It's not a coach, but it is.
I love that imagery. I'm really glad you shared that. That's perfect.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think this is important for coaches to think about, because you're not going to get the best out of your players unless you know or have a strong idea of where they are, right? They'll trust you if you can get the skills, teach yourself to be more aware, to be present, is slow yourself down. I know you're worried about, like, what offense am I going to run against this team, or what's the game plan, or all this different things, but slow yourself down to be present, right? To listen, to observe, like really read the body language, have a core group of trying to get the pulse of a team, your captains or your seniors, or whatever group that you feel is important. Listen, like really not, and that's hard, right? I mean, I'm a manager, you're a manager. You have to, like, what are they really saying? And probably it's easier sometimes where people pay attention, like, oh, they don't have high K because they don't know what I just said, right?
Right.
Or whatever. But are you paying attention to, like, they have something going on at home? I think it's great when I hear a coach say, oh, it's, they're having some issues, or they're whatever, because they're paying attention. And I know that they care about that, and need to pay attention to it, because in the end, right, I mean, they're people. Players are people. Right. And in this day and age, when we all get instant feedback from how many likes did we get, and that's what this generation of next athletes and players and workers, or new workers to the job market, they get it. They get those instant feedback. And so are we acknowledging that they actually we need to give them more feedback? To your point, like, you need to tell them, you need to communicate. So anyway, I think this topic from a general sense is so important for coaches to be where they are.
Before you wrap it up, and I know we're
wrapping up now.
I know, but I will say, so this is, as you talk, Nick, about this, and you talk about it, and I've already said you do it right. So this is how to be a better parent too.
Yes.
This is how to be a better boss. This is how to be a better partner in whatever relationship you have, whether it's friendship or spouse or whatever it is, right? It's meet them where they are is the first step to almost any successful communication.
Yeah, this is going to be our offshoot of a psychology podcast. No, I'm just kidding. No. But no, great. It's a great topic. I love that you, just when you respond to our conversations, and when I kind of brought this a little bit more to light for our topics when we talk.
No, it's incredibly invaluable. Well, I don't know if I said incredibly valuable.
Yeah, great.
Immeasurable, whatever. Okay.
I'm gonna. Well, we look forward every week, right, to talking to each other. Not that we don't talk to each other 100 times during the week, but excited for everyone to keep going with us and excited.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching the show today. I had a great time talking with Nick, as I always do. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Visit us on social media. Also, go to our website if you've got comments, questions, you want to call me an ugly name, thenickanthonyshow.com. There's a place to do it there. Give us your email address so you never miss an episode. Thank you very much. We'll see you next show.